All right, everyone, welcome back in. It's another episode of Believe in Vikings for today, Monday, November 25th. I'm your host, Mike Wobschall, joined as always on Mondays by my partner, my co-host, Bryant McKinnie. We're here to break down the Minnesota Vikings win over the Chicago Bears. They moved to 9-2, and we look ahead to the next game against the Arizona Cardinals at US Bank Stadium on Sunday. BMac and I will talk about that and much more. But first, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, and to college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action. With America's most trusted site for online wagering, BetOnline, the game starts here. Hey, BMac, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing pretty good on this good Monday morning against Victory Monday.
It is a Victory Monday. You're home in Miami, I take it?
Yep.
All right. You got to watch some football this weekend. You had some success. One of your former teams actually plays on Monday Night Football. The Ravens are in LA playing the Chargers, but you've tasted success with your other two favorite teams this weekend, most primarily being the Minnesota Vikings for our case today here on Believe in Vikings. Your thoughts generally on the Vikings and the Bears from Sunday?
It's a division game, so they're going to play you hard. Able to pull out the win. I was able to block some field goals. Just happy that they were able to get a win. I was trying to keep track of the game because it wasn't really being played here. I seen that they had like a decent lead in the fourth quarter, but then all of a sudden I seen like, wait a minute, you got tied. And then I finally checked the score again and I seen that they won the overtime. So I'm just happy they were able to pull off a win on the road. And I know this is with their third win on the road, or 3 out of 4.
Third straight win on the road and fourth straight win overall. Pretty good.
Okay, so that's pretty good. Especially road wins are hard. So to be able to get 3 on the road, that's pretty good.
Yep, that's right. And in Chicago also, a place where historically the Vikings have not been great, but I think they've won maybe 5 straight in Chicago now, or 4 straight in Chicago. So very impressive there for the Vikings. Yeah. In that overtime, BMac, the Bears win the toss and take the ball. And they went 3 and out, basically. There was a penalty in there, but it was basically 3 and out. Vikings take the ball, and it was just an absolute clinic in that overtime for Sam Darnold. I know that you were watching or following the game on your phone. It wasn't being played where you live, so you couldn't watch every play. But Sam Darnold in the overtime was fantastic, and the first play of overtime was a sack. But from that point on, I think he was 6 of 6 or 7 of 7 in overtime. Yeah, 6 of 6 for 90 yards, and he had a 7-yard scramble. And and the Vikings drive down and win the game. So he was really, really good in overtime. And overall for Darnold, a very good performance. 22 of 34 for 330 yards with 2 touchdowns and no picks. And we've been talking the last 2 weeks, BMac, about the Vikings defense sort of carrying the team. And we knew there would be a time where the offense had to jump in and shoulder the load, right? And here it is, a 30-point game at Soldier Field on a day when the Vikings defense gives up 27. So this is what we talked about, right?
Yeah, it's just being accountable and stepping up. I mean, they've seen, I'm sure, that their defense has been doing a lot. So it's like, okay, as an offense, like, okay, we have to go out here and do our part too. And I'm pretty sure that was a conversation amongst the guys on the sideline.
Yeah. So a couple of things I really wanted to bring up and talk to you. One is Aaron Jones and the running game. Aaron Jones went over 100 rushing yards and had a rushing touchdown. His 100-yard rushing game on Sunday was the first time he's rushed for 100 yards in a game since week 3. And his touchdown is the first one he's had since week 6. So he was a big part of the offense sort of jumping up and playing well. And then Jordan Addison as well. He had 8 catches for like 160 yards and a touchdown. So those 2 guys, along with Sam Darnold, really stood out. But I wanted to talk to you about the running game and Aaron Jones. And then also you mentioned the blocked field goal. So the Chicago Bears had a field goal blocked for the 2nd straight week. Last week, Green Bay blocked a field goal of theirs on what would have been the game-winning field goal for Chicago. And Green Bay ends up winning. And then this week, the Vikings block a field goal. What's going on when a field goal gets blocked? And I think this is interesting for you to comment on, because in both of these instances for the Bears, it looked to me like it was the field goal team's left side, which is where you would have played. So everyone associates you as a pass blocker, run blocker, but you were also on the field goal team.
On the field goal, I used to be on the right side.
Oh, you were? Okay. So you switched.
You played left tackle, you went to the opposite for the field goal, I guess, because of your leg being back.
Interesting.
So basically, it was switch sides.
Okay.
But what's going on is there is leakage there, and the Vikings have seen it in their film study the week before, and they said we're going to see if it got corrected, and it hasn't. And that's going to be an area where they really, the Chicago Bears need to really emphasize, because that player is going to have everybody attack him at this point. Yep. And the Vikings did it this week because they seen it happen last week. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So in our meetings, when we have meetings like that, it's like an urgency to get it corrected right away, like the following week. But now you've had it 2 weeks in a row where there's been leakage in there, so you're going to be like a target.
Yeah. So how do you test it to see? How do you stress test it? Because do you go live on field goal during the week and practice?
You try to go live, but there's only but so much you can do. It's like you just gotta you go live. Yeah, you definitely go live, but I just don't understand, like, it's his footing or something. They'll see it on film and correct, like, his footing or something, his step or something he's not doing properly, and people see it and are taking advantage of it. So it has to get corrected.
Yeah. And then let's say you identify something that someone who's leaking, who's giving up the pressure. Are there different ways you'll see field goal block attack that gap or that player, or is there really only one way through it?
I don't know what it is they're seeing, but it's something that they're seeing that they're keying on, and it's for some reason not being corrected. So they're going to just keep doing it until it gets corrected.
And that's what's interesting too, is it's like, yeah, we know that's on tape, and they know that they have a weakness there, but we're going to try it. At least once in the game, right?
Absolutely, because you want to see if it's still a weakness. So you're going to try it right away.
Yeah. So now
they'll have people overload or line up on him and all type of things, and they've done that when they feel like there's a leakage somewhere. They'll have like two people try to cram in one gap just to get movement and cause penetration. So yeah.
Is there anything to be done there where it's like, okay, this is a weakness of ours, we know people are going to try and shoot this gap and block it, and then you come up with a fake, or you come up with something to counter that?
I don't think they would do all that it's just like that person has to really like stand in the gap and figure out like how not to get pushed back. You know what I mean? So it's like, we're not going to do all this and go for fakes and all this. You have to stand in there and absorb, the rush, like take it on, or you'll get replaced.
Yep. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you about here was the running game. What the Vikings look like they got something going there. The running game, I think, has been a little slow to go. What are some keys to the running game? And I'm not asking you to maybe specifically talk about this Vikings running game, but in general, what are keys to being a good running offense?
The offense owning the snap count, firing off the ball, and creating lanes for the running back. The running back not taking too long to read the holes and not doing a lot of dancing east and west and trying to hit the hole to go north and south. Those to me are the main things.
Mm-hmm. Did you find that teams had better success running the ball with different types of blocking schemes where you were double teaming, getting to the second level, running duos?
Some people like to do zones, blocking schemes, and that just helps cut off, guys and create some lanes. It just depends on the players that you have. If you have physical players, then you can just maul people. If you have, guys who are more finesse, there's going to be a lot of like zone blocking cutoffs and things like that to create lanes.
Okay. So in zone blocking, you're relying on athleticism with your linemen?
It can be a little more finesse where you're doing a lot of reaching and cutting off and going up to the next level, but it's the line is constantly like moving and creating like little lanes and things like that.
And is that where you see backs kind of go with the flow and then
backs
they make
flow
a decision?
With a little more, they make a cut.
Yeah, they make a decision and sort of cut against the grain, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you need a certain type of back for that.
Guys who are just firing off the ball, and the back is hitting the hole harder, like faster,
So then it's not just your offensive linemen and their type, but also the back, right? Like,
well, the back, if it's a zone, he's going to probably like flow with it and then read, and he has to read too. So he has to make sure he makes the proper read and then hit it when you can.
So do you think different backs are better zone runners than other backs?
Yeah, I feel like if they become used to it, if they come from that in college and things like that. Some people are good downhill runners. Like I feel like a Travis Henry's like a good downhill guy. Adrian Peterson was great downhill. So it really just depends.
Okay. How about let's see, you also blocked for Chester. What type of runner was he?
Chester could be a good zone guy.
Cutback guy? Okay. How about like Michael Bennett and Ontario Smith?
Ontario, I'm gonna say Michael Bennett he would be good at the zone because he kind of would hide a little bit and then just break out or whatever. Ontario, I can't remember. I feel like he was a bruiser back. Like he didn't mind running downhill at people.
Yeah, he seemed pretty stout and pretty physical.
Yeah.
So are there areas on the field where it's like, man, we're typically a pretty finesse zone running scheme, but man, in this area or this situation, we really need to sort of be, more of that physical mauling group? Like, are you able to execute both styles of runs, or do you really need to sort of pick a lane and be one type?
It depends. Like some plays are zone plays, like you know what I mean. So it really depends on the plays. You have some plays where the linemen that have to fire off, go straight down, and some are like outside zone, things like that. So it'll be nice if they could be good, but I mean that's probably why sometimes they may switch the back so some might be better than the other.
Yeah, sure. Okay, and then how about the type of front you're facing? Are you more likely to run a gap or a zone against an even or an odd man front, one or the other?
I don't really think it really matters.
Okay.
Too much. I probably would see it more with a 3-4 though, but I don't really think it matters.
It can be mixed up. Okay, and then who's you hear analysts talk a lot about the box is heavy. The numbers favor the defense here. Who's counting that? Is that up to the quarterback and center, or
between the quarterback and center? Yeah, but if a lot of people's in the box, that means they're trying to stop the run.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, they probably read that it's a run based off of film or something too. Or it's a tendency that you run the ball on this down the distance, something like that. So that's a good time for play action.
Yeah.
If there's not one, but they're favoring run that, or you have a good run offense and they're trying to stop the run, so they're putting a lot of people down in the box.
Yep. So would it be pretty common for teams you played on, BMac, where in the huddle 2 plays would be called? One is a check with me. You got the primary play and then one that you can check to. Would that be pretty common?
Yeah, we've definitely had that. You'll hear like maybe like Oklahoma or something that's like opposite call, or you'll hear like a play get changed. I forget the calls, but it'll be a play on, and then at the line he'll call something else, like he'll change the play.
Yep.
And it can change. And that's why when you'll know they're going into the huddle, like in the huddle, you'll know like it may start a run, but it can change to a pass based on what he sees, or vice versa. So you have to be very careful of how you put your hand on the ground. You want it to be pretty balanced because you don't want to be too heavy on your hand thinking it's run, then change the path. You have to be very careful in those senses of how you place that hand on the ground.
Yep, for sure. Oh yeah. So it's possible that your assignment changes significantly.
Well, that's why they
5 seconds before.
That's why they say the offensive line is smart as big guys on the field, because it can change in the midst of a second. Where the defense knows they have a gap. I have this gap. I rush this gap. Our whole play can change in the middle of the cadence, and it's like you have to identify things real quick, and you know what I mean, and go.
And it could be something like you got to operate a certain way because the guy next to you is pulling, but then you change the play, and now the guy next to you isn't pulling, and there might be a tight end or back chipping with you, and now you got to be different because
you have a small window to figure all that out.
Like boom. I mean, it's like
part of the cadence is him changing the play.
Yeah.
So you see people looking around while the cadence is going, they looking around trying to identify everything.
Yep. So you played with a couple of guys who I just have a lot of respect for how they played the game, that position, Flacco and Favre. You know, what were they like? Were they audible heavy guys, or were they pretty much just going to run the play?
Brett Favre was definitely an audible heavy guy. He's seen things. I feel like your quarterback, that's why I feel like your quarterback can make you a better player, because he's playing mind games with the defense as well. So he'll see things and he'll make a dummy call, or there's certain things he'll do, and he'll throw the defense off or make them hesitate, and it puts you in better position. So he definitely somebody who, if he sees something, he'll change the play. I mean, you remember, I told you before, back when Coach Childress was there, we playing Detroit, he kept changing his own plays, and Childress tried to pull him out of the game. So he's definitely going to change the play.
Yeah. I think you gotta, like, you have to be okay with that when you bring Brett in, right? Like this.
I think Coach Childress had like a more of an ego thing too, though. So it was like about him a little bit. Even though you brought Brett Favre in for, like, you know, these type of things, and trust his skill and everything, but you know, things were, I guess, not going the way Coach Childress wanted during that time. Even though we ended up winning, but I guess it just was like, you keep changing these plays now, and it ended up working out for us.
It did work out for you guys, for us, but like, I think in that one with Childress, I think you're totally right that there was like this is how we're going to do it. But Brett is like, I've been here in this league for 16 years. This is how we're going to do it. And then you add, you know,
it was about like 19 at that point.
Yeah. You know who we should feel bad for in that situation is Bevel. Because what's he supposed to do?
Because he's trying to tell Tavares to go in, and Tavares was like, if he's not coming out, I'm not going in. So Tavares was stuck between a rock and a hard place too. Like, I'm not going to make him come out. But I mean, no. So it was like, go in. He's like, is he coming out?
Can you imagine Tavares being out? Brett, you're out. Brett, you're out.
Tavares, he refused to do that. So he was just like, I'm not going in.
I ain't going in there. But then you got Bevel, who's like Favre's guy from Green Bay. Yeah. And he knows him, trusts him, believes in him. And then, but he's supposed to be a coach. Like, he's supposed to be Brad's lieutenant, you know? Right. He's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, you know, Bevel's okay with how Favre operated. I mean, you know, that's like, you know, in basketball, you get a 3-point shooter who takes a bad shot. It's like, no. Oh, good shot. Way to go. Right. I mean, that's probably what Bevel was like, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And he's seen it time and time again. I think Bevel had more trust because he worked with him prior where, you know, Chili hadn't.
Yeah. And, you know, Bevel's just a great guy. I mean, he's a soft-spoken, great guy. Just goes with the flow, you know. And then you had Brad and Brett who could sort of clash from time to time. Lots of stories to tell. You shared a couple with us here that we'll always remember. But I'm sure there are a lot more untold stories from the Favre Childress 09 Vikings. But you're right. It worked out. You guys, you know, won a lot of games. 12 regular season wins, and then the Dallas Cowboy playoff win, and whatever, you know, and then the Saints game, obviously. But we never made it back, BMac. You went on to Baltimore, and you got to the mountaintop. So you found a way to get it done, and you did it with Flacco. So what was he like? Was he an audible guy? And who was he working with on offense when you were there? Who was the coordinator?
You know what's crazy is our coordinator during that Super Bowl run, he got fired during the middle.
Wow.
Of it. So by the time we got to the playoffs, we had a different coordinator, but he was, I want to say, was it a receiver coach moved up to be coordinator? Like,
I'll look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a coordinator got fired in the middle of that season.
Was this the 2012 season?
Yeah.
So it says here it was Cam Cameron. Is that right?
But Cam got fired.
And then it was Jim Caldwell.
Yeah. So he was a receiver coach that got moved up, and he came from Indianapolis. I remember Mr. Linda Harrison come to our games. And the Colts is who we played in the first round of the playoffs. He came from the Colts, but so he moved up.
Okay.
And he did a good job. And
he did. And he became a head coach. He became a head coach. Yeah.
Joe would check out of things too. It just with Brett Favre, I just knew there was a difference with any other quarterback I played with, and then Brett Favre. And I could see how some of those tackles that these people have, like Brett and Tom Brady, don't have, like they make the Pro Bowl a lot because those quarterbacks they could be already good, but them quarterbacks make them better too.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. Having the right quarterback, it's a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely an art to that position, right? It's not just can you throw fast and accurately, right? It's
being able to recognize things, call it out, make adjustments and everything. So it's a big difference.
Yep. Plus it's leading, it's being able to get along with the offensive linemen, and the different position groups, and then the different personalities and cultures even within those same position groups. So we've talked about that a lot here. Just a lot of respect for how he did it. You mentioned the offensive coordinator coaching change that you went through in Baltimore, and I went through a couple at the Vikings when when Coach Tice was fired, then Brad was fired, then Leslie Frazier was fired. So I've been through it too. A couple of teams have done that this season. BMac, the Jets fired Robert Saleh, the Saints fired Dennis Allen. I think there are a few, unfortunately, who are on the hot seat who could still get fired this season. What's that like when that happens? What are the potential positives and what are the challenges that happen with a coaching change?
I think for a team, you feel like, okay, we have a fresh start. A new fresh energy that comes in here to kind of probably help pick up the morale sometimes, and hopefully you like the new person. Sometimes I know Baltimore, when he got fired, I was like kind of like good.
Yeah.
Because I just was like some of the things I just was like, what are we doing?
It wasn't working. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was change needed, and I was kind of like happy that we did make a change. It sometimes, like I said, can be a breath of fresh air. Sometimes somebody new comes in and you just feel like you've been struggling. So now it's like, okay, let's start over and let's, build from here. So that's how you look at it sometimes.
Yeah. I'm looking at that playoff run on the way to the Super Bowl. You had a double overtime win at Denver. Was that Jacoby Jones' long touchdown?
Yes.
Wow.
I think that touchdown actually, did it win the game or tied it? I can't remember.
Okay. Yeah. The great Jacoby Jones, I know, who we unfortunately lost recently. So yeah, man, that was a pretty special run that you guys had. And then that was the Niners who you played in the Super Bowl, and the lights went out in that game, right?
And right before them was New England.
In the championship game?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you go to the Super Bowl, you win 34-31 in the Super Bowl. Harbaugh versus Harbaugh. And the lights go out in that game. What do you remember about the lights going out? What happened there?
You heard like a noise, like you heard that, like something, and then you started I looked up and I just started seeing like the lights go out of sections around the stadium. And I'm like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah.
And we were sitting there for like the first 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, not knowing anything. And I'm like, we don't got to play this game tomorrow, start over tomorrow. Yeah. And then they came and they told us that the generator has to re-crank. So it's going to take 15 or 20 minutes for the generator to kick in and crank all the lights back on again. So then when it came 15-minute mark, all right, everybody move around, start stretching. So we had to start stretching all over again. Yeah. But the thing is, when we came out on, halftime's 30 minutes, which is, long for, because it's Super Bowl, so it's 30-minute halftime. And then Jacoby ran the ball back for a kickoff where we supposed to have the ball. So he ran it back for a touchdown. Defense was on the field. And they were kind of driving. They were midfield maybe. And then lights go out. So it's already been 30-plus minutes of us not doing nothing on offense. And then you have another additional 30 minutes tacked onto that. So over an hour of just sitting on the sideline.
That's weird.
You definitely lose rhythm. You have a whole hour plus of doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
For a whole hour, or at least their offense, they were in the middle of a drive. So it was they didn't have as long as we did to be doing nothing for an hour. So the rhythm kind of was a little off, I guess, getting back out there. You have to get your mind back into the game. The rhythm was off a little bit, and then they started just closing in and catching up.
Yeah, that was a hell of a game, man. I remember watching it. That was a great game. That was close. I think that break in the action favored San Francisco a little bit.
It did, because they were down 28-3 or something. It was something like that. So
it was something crazy. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I remember that. Did you? I know you didn't get your eyes on the game because it wasn't being broadcast to you, but I also know you're a big. You watch a lot of college football, and Caleb Williams was the #1 overall pick. Did you watch much of him at USC? He had, his numbers were.
I've seen some of his games.
Yeah.
At USC. I did.
What do you think of him?
They were talking about him a lot. He almost seems like how they talk about Cam Ward a little bit. He always seemed very confident and calm back there in the backfield. But when you get to the league, it is a different speed, it's a different level. So it's going to be a different type of pressure and everything too overall. So I feel like he will end up becoming a good player. Probably give him like another 2 more years. You know what I mean? Because they just see everything too. So
yeah. So I agree with you. I think he's going to be good too, but I don't think it's going to happen right away like it has happened for some talented rookie quarterbacks. It's going to be so important for them to put someone smart around him as a coordinator or a head coach. And I don't want anyone to lose their job. I fear that Matt Eberflus, who's the Bears head coach, may lose his job, and they absolutely should hire an offensive-minded head coach with Caleb Williams. The other thing that I think of when I watch him, and maybe you see this with Cam Ward, because you mentioned the Miami Hurricanes quarterback Cam Ward, who's going to be is he going to go out in the draft this year? Is he coming out?
Yeah, he's a senior.
He's a senior. Okay, so he's going to be a first-round pick, I would think. He looks like he would be to me.
He gives me that.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe Cam Ward is like this. When I watch Caleb Williams play, he doesn't make every play or make every throw perfectly, but like the game does not look too fast. Like it looks like he belongs in that spot. Do you know what I'm saying by that?
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes you get guys in the game and it's like it looks like this is going too fast for him. And I think Caleb looks natural. Do you think Cam Ward, it looks like that?
Yeah, that's why it gave me like similarities a little bit because they both look so like calm. They don't look rushed or flustered. It's like they're still trying to remain calm and cool and make their reads and make the plays.
Yep. And I see that in Caleb. I definitely saw that in Sam Darnold yesterday. Probably, I know I said this last week, BMac. Last week I said that was Darnold's best game. I think this week was his best game. 22 of 34,
well, 330 these best games.
Yeah, I know. He keeps upping it, man. So that's good.
Right.
That's good for them. And the Vikings need it because they are in a division that is tough. We were talking about this last night when we were setting up, today's show. Detroit 10-1. They have not lost since week 2. Minnesota 9-2. They've won 4 straight. Green Bay is 8-3, and they've won 6 of their last 7. So a really tough, good division here in the NFC North with Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay.
It's like a race. It's like neck and it's like almost neck and neck.
Yeah. I don't know. It does. You watch a lot of football. Who do you like in the league this year? I know you like the Vikings, but who else looks good to you watching games? Just watching them on TV. Who looks good to your eyes?
Well, of course, Kansas City's doing well.
Yep. I think Baltimore.
Pittsburgh is kind of doing okay too.
Yep. Pittsburgh stuff.
I don't know. I really only watch the teams I play for.
Yeah. Well, we're getting to that point, Thanksgiving, where there's 5, 6, 7 games left, so you kind of know who you are.
It's the point where the rhythm really matters, like how you start to play and have a rhythm going in December and carrying through like January and everything is really a big part. So it's like this is where you really have to turn it on.
Yeah. Well, we'll see a good one tonight on Monday Night Football. Your former team, the Ravens, they're playing the Chargers. So Jim and John Harbaugh go against each other, and you got 2 teams who, think they're Super Bowl.
This is the third time they win against each other.
Is it the third time?
I've seen them post on the NFL. They had mentioned only the Super Bowl. I said, but actually the year before on Thanksgiving Day, we played the 49ers on Thanksgiving Day.
Crazy, yeah. And they do it again. Pretty cool story. Pretty unlikely 2 brothers become head coaches, then they play each other. They play each other in a Super Bowl. Unbelievable. So that'll be a fun game to watch tonight. And then we'll have 3 Thanksgiving Day games. Chicago will be at Detroit. The Giants are at Dallas. And then the Thanksgiving night game is the Dolphins at Green Bay. So you're going to get a Miami team going to Lambeau Field. Yeah, it's going to be cold.
They are going to hate that game. Miami got all teams Thursday night.
Yeah, Tua says he's ready to kill the narrative. He says he's ready to go down there and win a cold weather game. So
we'll see.
We'll see. That's right. We will see. And then the Vikings, of course, they play at home. They play Arizona. Now, you may not be at this one, BMac, but you are coming to Minnesota in a few weeks to watch the Bears game against the Vikings on Monday night, right? Yeah. So you'll get to put your eyes on Caleb Williams in that one then. So you'll see him again, and maybe I can find my way into the building and we'll meet up or something like that. But anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Anything else on your mind or in the notebook you want to get out before we close it up?
No, that's about it.
That's about it. All right. What are you doing this week? Anything fun?
This week I may travel actually back to Atlanta. My family's there, so I may go there because the rest of my family's in Jersey. But I mean, I can go to Atlanta. It's only an hour and a half flight, and have Thanksgiving with my family there.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the holiday. Happy Thanksgiving.
Too.
Thank you. I will. Happy Thanksgiving to all you guys. And then you and I will chat after the next Vikings game on Monday. We'll break it all down, and hopefully it'll be another Vikings victory. That's going to do it for today's episode, everyone, of Believe in Vikings. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to the show. We're also on YouTube, so all the major podcasting platforms, and then on YouTube, go there and check it out. Once you do, we'll see you there. On behalf of BMac, my partner and my co-host, this is Mike Wobschall signing off for now. Until next time, everybody, keep believing.